In the bustling city of Riverton, where the courthouse stood as a beacon of justice, a unique figure roamed the marble halls. Liberty, a golden retriever with soulful eyes and a heart full of compassion. Known as K9 Liberty, she was no ordinary dog. Trained specifically as a courthouse therapy dog, Liberty's mission was to provide comfort and support to victims of crime, witnesses, and even children navigating the intimidating legal system. Her presence transformed the cold, imposing environment of the courthouse into a place where healing could begin. Liberty's journey began 2 years ago when Judge Clara Thompson, a veteran of Riverton Circuit Court, noticed the emotional toll the legal process took on victims. Sexual assault survivors, domestic violence victims, and children caught in custody battles often left her courtroom more broken than when they arrived. The adversarial nature of trials, coupled with the sterile formality of the courthouse, left little room for solace. Clara, a dog lover herself, had read about courthouse therapy dogs in other jurisdictions and proposed the idea to the county. After months of planning, fundraising, and training, Liberty arrived. She was a 3-year-old golden retriever, handpicked from a therapy dog program for her gentle temperament and intuitive ability to sense distress. Her handler, Emily Ruiz, a social worker with a background in trauma care, became Liberty's guide, ensuring she reached those who needed her most. On her first day, Liberty padded into the courthouse wearing a navy blue vest embroidered with the words, K9 Liberty, Comfort Companion. The clerks, bailiffs, and even stoic attorneys couldn't help but smile as she wagged her tail, her soft fur gleaming under the fluorescent lights. But it was in the victim's advocacy room where Liberty's true purpose shone. Sarah Miller, a 19-year-old college student, was one of Liberty's first assignments. Sarah had been assaulted by a classmate, and the trial was looming. The thought of facing her attacker in court filled her with dread. She barely slept, and her hands trembled whenever she thought about testifying. On the morning of the pre-trial hearing, Sarah sat in the advocacy room, her knees pulled to her chest, staring blankly at the floor. Emily entered quietly, Liberty at her side. "Sarah, this is Liberty," Emily said softly. "She's here to help you feel a little safer." Sarah glanced up, her eyes red from crying. Liberty, sensing her distress, approached slowly and rested her head on Sarah's knee. Her warm, steady presence was like an anchor in a storm. Sarah hesitated, then reached out, her fingers sinking into Liberty's fur. For the first time in weeks, she felt her racing heart slow. "She's so soft," Sarah whispered, a faint smile breaking through her fear. Liberty stayed by Sarah's side throughout the hearing. When Sarah took the stand, Liberty lay at her feet, her calm breathing a reminder that she wasn't alone. With each question from the attorneys, Sarah glanced down at Liberty, drawing strength from her unwavering presence. By the end of the day, Sarah felt something she hadn't in months: hope. Liberty's work extended beyond adult victims. The courthouse often saw children caught in the crossfire of domestic disputes or abuse cases. For them, the legal system was a bewildering maze of stern adults and unfamiliar terms. Liberty became their refuge. One such child was 8-year-old Marcus, who had witnessed his mother's abuse at the hands of his stepfather. Marcus was scheduled to speak with a judge in chambers about his experiences, a daunting task for a boy who barely spoke above a whisper. His social worker, fearing he'd shut down, requested Liberty's assistance. In the judge's chambers, Marcus sat rigidly, clutching a stuffed dinosaur. Liberty, sensing his anxiety, nudged the dinosaur with her nose, then looked up at Marcus with a playful tilt of her head. He giggled, the sound startling in the quiet room. "She likes my dino," he said, his voice small but clear. Judge Thompson, usually formal, softened. She sure does. Why don't you tell Liberty about your dinosaur? She's a great listener. Marcus began talking, first about the dinosaur, then about his home life. Liberty lay beside him, her head on his lap, her steady gaze encouraging him to continue. By the time the conversation turned to the abuse, Marcus was able to share details he'd previously kept locked away. Liberty's presence had turned a terrifying ordeal into a moment of connection. As months turned into years, Liberty's impact grew. Victims who once dreaded court appearances began asking for her by name. Attorneys noticed that witnesses accompanied by Liberty were calmer and more focused. Even jurors, often overwhelmed by graphic testimony, found moments of relief when Liberty passed through the halls, her tail wagging like a metronome of kindness. One of Liberty's most profound moments came during a high-profile trial involving a serial offender. The case had drawn media attention, and the courtroom was packed. Among the victims was 32-year-old Lena, a survivor of a violent attack. Lena had panic attacks at the thought of facing the defendant, whose cold stare haunted her nightmares. On the day of her testimony, she nearly collapsed in the hallway, her breath coming in shallow gasps. Emily and Liberty were there in an instant. Liberty pressed her body against Lena's legs, grounding her as Emily coached her through breathing exercises. "You're not alone," Emily said. "Liberty's got you." In the courtroom, Liberty sat by Lena's side, her head resting on Lena's lap during breaks. When the defense attorney's cross-examination grew aggressive, Lena reached down to stroke Liberty's ears, finding the strength to keep her voice steady. After the trial, Lena wrote a letter to the courthouse, thanking Liberty for giving her the courage to speak. "She's more than a dog," Lena wrote. "She's a lifeline." Liberty's work wasn't without challenges. The emotional weight of the cases took a toll, and Emily ensured Liberty had plenty of downtime to play, nap, and simply be a dog. Community volunteers organized Liberty Days, where she visited schools and parks, reminding everyone that even heroes need a break. By her 5th year, Liberty had supported hundreds of people, from victims to law enforcement officers grappling with the stress of their work. Her story spread, inspiring other counties to adopt courthouse dog programs. Riverton's courthouse, once a place of fear for many, became a model of compassion, with Liberty as its heart. One spring morning, as cherry blossoms bloomed outside the courthouse, Liberty received a special honor, a plaque in the lobby, engraved with her name and the words, K9 Liberty, bringer of comfort. At the ceremony, Sarah, now a junior in college, spoke. "Liberty didn't just help me survive that trial," she said, tears in her eyes. "She showed me I could be strong again." As the crowd applauded, Liberty wagged her tail, oblivious to the fanfare but acutely aware of the love surrounding her. For her, it was just another day of doing what she did best, offering a paw, a nuzzle, or a quiet moment of peace to those who needed it most. In the years that followed, Liberty's legacy endured. Even after she retired, her spirit lived on in the new therapy dogs who followed in her paw prints. The courthouse, once a place of cold justice, had been forever changed by a golden retriever who proved that sometimes the greatest strength comes from a gentle heart.